Planning a Walt Disney World trip but short on time? Join us as Becca leads the way, helping me decide where to stay, which parks to prioritize, and how to pack the most magic into a quick getaway. It's a real-time planning session you won't want to miss.
You're listening to Castle Talk Radio. We're live on the airwaves with Becca and Jessica. Now let's jump into this week's episode.
Jessica, you just pitched this topic to me last night, the night before we're recording this. And this is a first for us. We haven't done something like this before. We're going to get a real life planning session from me, and you guys get to listen in. Now, normally you're probably used to Jessica being one of the experts, but not as familiar with Walt Disney World. So we're gonna work through this, and it's the kind of conversation we often have behind the scenes, even when planning trips to Disneyland. And now you guys kind of get to tune into that.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about on the podcast how Walt Disney World is a longer trip and it requires about a week to really do it justice, just like Disneyland requires at least 3 days to do it right. But we know that things get in the way of just those perfect, ideal type of things. So this potential trip that I'm planning is really going to push the limits, and I just need to talk this out with you. That's why last night I was like, can we swap some episodes around, because I need some help.
I love it. I'm ready. Let's go. Ask away.
Okay. So here's the background. We have some family friends that we've been trying to get together with, and we live quite a distance apart. And we realized that Walt Disney World could be a really good location for us just to meet up instead of one of us going one way and another going the other. So it also gives me the added benefit of including a little more Florida content into what I do and knowledge bringing back to the podcast and stuff like that, because I've only been there once. And that was a couple of years ago. So with this trip, there's a few things that we can throw out right off the bat. I'm not worried about weather. I'm not worried about the crowds, because this trip entirely revolves around what works best for both of our families. So that already takes those variables out. We don't need to talk about those things, but there are some things that I really need to consider. So it's going to be a really short trip. So I'm talking a weekend, 2 or 3 days in the park.
Okay.
And then I'm probably going to need 2 hotel rooms. And if they do, I really, really need them to be connecting. Possibly a family suite. If that's the case, I want a door bedroom so that we can have separate family spaces, and 2 bathrooms so that we're not having to shower in the same space, and we can each have our own private space to get ready and to sleep. So can you help?
I can. So we're going to start with one thing at a time. A short trip isn't normally what I would recommend, but hey, I just did 6 parks in one day, so I can't judge anymore, right? So one thing you need to understand is you're not going to be able to do everything. There's just no way. And I mean, you may not even be able to do every park. And then is quality more important than quality to you? And are you willing to park hop? Those are the 2 things I need to know.
So yeah, we definitely want to have quality over quantity. We're coming into this knowing that we're not going to do everything. So I definitely think the expectations are there as far as we're there to spend time with each other, and we chose Disney because it's convenient. So we're not necessarily we want to go on this amazing Disney vacation. It's this is actually going to work out for us. So let's make the best of a Disney theme park experience, because this is where we can go and this is what we can do in this time. So we definitely want the quality time together more than running around trying to fit everything in. So I do like the idea of focusing on one thing at a time. Park hopping, I guess, could be an option, but I don't know that I would want to park hop both days. And I know that you're buying either a park hopper or a single day or a single park ticket. So I'm not sure where that would fall if it would be worth it to buy the hopper. But if I did park hop, like what parks would you recommend putting into one day to like combine?
Well, okay, so that's a big question depending on what your goals are at the parks, right? Because the answer would be different for someone that's a thrill ride seeker versus they want to do the rides that are different from from Disneyland. Like, what is your specific goal at the parks? Is it just to have fun? Is it to do the unique experiences at Walt Disney World?
So that's something that I do need to dig in more with our group. So ideally, I would have those answers to you. Like I would come to you with those answers in like a regular planning session that you'd have with someone. But so I'll just say for time's sake that we would want to do stuff that's more unique to Walt Disney World.
Okay. So does that mean you would want to skip Magic Kingdom or you want to do Magic Kingdom? Because it's like,
yeah, I know that's
different things.
Yeah, so I definitely want to do Magic Kingdom just because it's classic. And I feel like if we do Magic Kingdom, that it should be a one-day park, unless you disagree. Like maybe that's something that you're like, no, actually, being a Disneyland regular, you can do a half day at Magic Kingdom.
You could do a half day being a Disneyland regular if you needed to. Okay, so this is just a rough little plan. So you're saying you would have 2 or 3 park days. Do you know?
Right, yeah. That's
okay.
I don't know yet,
so
but that's
let's say 2, but if you could add on like an evening or your flight leaves late the next day, you might decide you want to go into a park if the price is right, for an extra day on the ticket. But I would focus your main parks that you would probably want to focus on are Animal Kingdom, because it's so different from anything we have at Disneyland. And it also has the Pandora area, which you have teens, they probably are into that kind of thing. And then obviously Epcot, because I happen to know that you love Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Plus, it's really unique also compared to what we have at Disneyland. But I would definitely think a park hopper would be good because you could do even where you do 2/3 of the day in one of those parks and then the last part of the day or the beginning of the day at Magic Kingdom. So that's a really good option if you are wanting to do that. Now, one thing I will say with that, if you were to do it where you start what you're going to want to, if you're doing Animal Kingdom, you're going to want to start one day at Animal Kingdom because if you're going to do safari, the animals are more active. Obviously, Pandora, like those types of things, it's better that way. But if not, I mean, you can sneak in a few hours before close at Animal Kingdom and hopefully see some animals, but it's just not as likely.
So it's definitely a morning park.
Yeah, I say it's a morning park. What I personally would do is I would plan to start one day at Epcot and one day at Animal Kingdom. And then I would go to Magic Kingdom either a half day after, because Animal Kingdom closes pretty early. And so you could go to Magic Kingdom after that. And I would actually prioritize on that day purchasing individual lightning lanes for Tron.
Ooh, yes, I haven't done that one.
And Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Ooh, so fun.
Yeah. And the reason I say to do that, to prioritize that rather than purchasing the one for Flight of Passage is because you're going to be going later in the day, and you can, when you do individual lightning lanes at Disney World, you can actually choose the time that you want. And you can actually do that kind of with all the lightning lanes because you choose them in advance now. But I would definitely, I don't like leaving it up to the virtual queue because I found there's days when I am just waiting for my virtual queue to be called. I might be done in a park other than that. So I much prefer to purchase individual lightning lanes. So I would, if you're going to do Magic Kingdom the same day as another park, I would do it with Animal Kingdom. and just plan on doing early entry if you're on site to do Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom.
Okay, and so if you're on site, are there certain like levels of hotels that get you early entry?
No, all hotels get early entry, half an hour. Deluxe hotels actually get extra magic. I think the names always confuse me. Extra magic hours at night. It's at extra evening hours. It's called something like that. But they're not every night. So you'd even have to look at the schedule and see if they're happening when you're there. So and then that way, that leaves your Epcot day open where you can get your Guardians of the Galaxy individual lightning lane, right? And then you can also do like your pre-picked ones. You can choose either between Remy's or Frozen because those are both the same, the top tier because they have that tier status going over there too. Which we don't have a ton of time to get into all of that today, but if someone wants to do a planning session with me, I can walk them through that. And then you still have 2 more lightning lanes that you could pick for other things, whether that's Test Track. I don't think it's not open yet, and I don't think it will be when you go, but the other rides. So that is how I would probably do it.
Okay, so
but let's get in.
I'm getting like a better grasp on like with the short on time. If you have more money to spend, that really plays to your advantage because if you have more money to spend, you can choose these hotels that get you essentially more time in the parks, even on those 2 or 3 days. And then you can also pay for individual lightning lanes. And that kind of wiggles your way into more ride time. So those are good things to think about. Also hopping, you're paying more money there. So yeah, let's get into the hotel selection. Now we're going to assume also that everything's available to us. Of course, people book Walt Disney World a lot farther in advance, but for the sake of this, we're just going to assume that all hotels and room types have availability, and we're going to explore some options. So reminder of what I had talked about, like I want like a family suite that has like 2 bathrooms, a door in between. Give me what you got.
Okay, so with what you're describing, so let me just knock off the value resorts that have family suites first.
Okay.
There's All-Star Music. I stayed there with my family. I raved about it. We talked about it in my Walt Disney World recap, which I'll link. It has a separate bedroom and bathroom. And then in the main living area, it has 2 Murphys that pull down, and they've got the thicker mattresses. So they're not like the super thin type things. And then it has a bathroom in there, and it also has a little kitchen spot. And you can watch the room tour if you want. But I don't think that's what you're wanting so much because there's no way, there's not like another door to get into their room. So I'm guessing you're going to have your family that's going in one, their family in the other. Same with the Art of Animation. The suites there, they have a bedroom that's separated with its own bathroom. But again, like that person, the people in that bedroom have free access to the room. And then it's Murphy beds again. So if you were wanting to go value, I would actually suggest Pop Century with adjoining rooms because they do have them. And the good thing about Pop Century is you have access to the Skyliner to get you to Epcot. So it's a great, like it's a lot of people's favorite value resort. And it's right across from Caribbean Beach. And so that's where the main Skyliner transportation is.
Got it. Yes,
I would
remember
definitely suggest Pop Century as far as a value. Now, if you could go bigger, let's say you don't have a spending limit, the deluxe resorts, what's great about them is they are DVC resorts, right? So you have lots of options there.
Yeah, like villas and all those
bedroom. Things. Yeah, exactly. Another option is always doing something like the cabins at Fort Wilderness and getting 2 different cabins, right? And then just requesting them to be close. And then that way there's like really you have your own space. But again, this is going to cost you quite a bit more, especially since they've redone those cabins to be DVC and they're nicer.
And like for this,
yeah.
I probably wouldn't want to spend that much being so short, but I love the option.
Yeah. Well, and then the deluxe does get you that, you know, those extra hours if they're happening during your dates. So you have to look at your dates and see if it's happening in any of the parks you want to visit. And I wanted to mention, we talked a little before this, and you had mentioned that since Hollywood Studios had so much, we kind of skipped over this part. Hollywood Studios has so much of the same stuff as Disneyland that we decided that that's the park you would skip.
Yeah, to me that's like an easy.
Yeah, but why I wanted to bring that up now is if you did go deluxe, you might look and see if that has extra hours at that park, and you can just hop in for those. So that's the other option. Okay, so you could still get in there. You could still do Slinky Dog Dash, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Tower of Terror, like those type of things. But you could do them in that time. And I will say, I watched Fantasmic over there this last trip, and it is way better than Disneyland's. Way better.
Inside, right?
No, it's outside, but they have seating.
Why do I think it's inside? Weird.
I don't know. Probably because it has seating.
Yes, that's what I'm picturing. Okay. Just threw me off because it's like bleachers.
It's bleachers around the water bays, like show area. Like nothing else happens there. It's only Fantasmic. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Definitely 100%. I think it's better than Disneyland. So, okay. So any other burning questions you want to ask? Oh, let's talk about offsite versus onsite, because we did mention, like, you might have to stay offsite because you're planning this pretty last minute.
Yeah.
The big benefit to staying on site right now, because I have done both, but the big benefit is that you can make your lightning lanes earlier when you stay on site. So they have an advanced lightning lane system, and if you're staying on site, you can make your entire trip 7 days before you check in. So if you check in on a Monday, the previous Monday, you can make all those lightning lanes for the entire trip, which means you can make it like 9 days ahead, right? If you're
so
you check in 7 days.
It's not like 6 months.
No, it's only 7 days.
Right. Okay, so that's cool enough.
Better than the old
I've
days.
already missed it.
No, you have 7 days, so you could do it. But if you stay off site, you only can do them 3 days in advance, and because you don't have a reservation, they don't know how long you're going, so you can only do it. My understanding, because I haven't stayed off site and done them, is you can only do them 3 days in advance. And you have to do it day by day by day.
Got it.
So I definitely think on-site has the advantage. So if there is, like I said, I think Pop Century is what you're looking for. There are some moderates that have adjoining rooms, but Pop Century is well known for having adjoining rooms. And I think with its location with the Skyliner, it's like a great option for you guys. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this has helped me a ton. And I know there's a lot more that goes into it. And that's why I'm most definitely booking with Getaway Today, because I know they'll also help me with lightning lane bookings and talking through what can be done in advance at Walt Disney World. And of course, get me the best price. And yes, we actually book with who we recommend, and you can use them too. You can get a quote for any Disney vacation by going to getawaytoday.com/Castle Talk. You can also call them at 855-GETAWAY and tell them Castle Talk Radio sent you. I will likely be doing that as well, just to talk through all my options and then also get the pricing in real time. I think that's a super helpful thing where they can play around with the system and say, okay, yeah, and if you added the hopper and made it a deluxe stay, you're going to get this and this and this. And it's only going to be this much of a difference or whatever. I think that's really cool. And Becca, you've used them before, and then there's been times where they've said, oh yeah, actually, and then this deal came out, and so now you get this money back. So it's like a total win.
Yes, it's really nice. They have a great team. They really know Walt Disney World. You know, we know them very well for Disneyland. That's what they're known. But when we went on that first trip with them, Jessica, I was blown away at the knowledge that they have about Walt Disney World. They're Walt Disney World specialists. So definitely work with them. I even, as someone that's been several times, I worked with them when I did my trip for the 6 parks in one day to make sure I planned things well. And it was a great help. So we love Getaway Today. And I'm so excited, Jessica, that you are going back to the East Coast.
I hope it works. I hope it works. We're still trying to like narrow down dates and things and like just get it in motion. You know, the more moving parts that you have and the more people and logistics, it's really hard to get things moving. So I'm just trying to like get this party started. And with all the travel that I do regularly over to Disneyland and all the other things, it's just like a really tricky thing, but we're trying, and I want to get it moving, and hopefully going to happen in first quarter of 2025. So of course, if that happens, you guys are going to hear about it. And just one last thing, if you want a planning session like this, Becca and I both do that Becca can do that for Disneyland Resort or Walt Disney World. And I do that just for Disneyland. And the thing is, we kind of meet you where you're at. So whether you want a planning session to talk through hotels, ticket types, or you want something nitty gritty that's like, hey, I already know when I'm going and I need to know what I'm doing the moment that I walk into the parks, let us know. Get onto our websites, thehappiestblogonearth.com and
themeparktipsgal.com.
And you can find our contact information. Let us know that you're interested in a planning session and we'll get you started.